2 microphones, you're hearing one of them right now, 2 receivers, one for the camera, one for your phone, 2 separated audio channels, 2 windscreens, and a charging case, all for $90. This is the SmallRig S70. This is the A version, which stands for all-in-one. It has all of those pieces in it. There's a mobile phone only version, which comes with a USB-C receiver, and that is only 70 bucks. These are the prices at the time of this recording. Check the link in the description for updated pricing. And shout out to SmallRig, they sent me out this kit to try. I actually was asking for that GoGo light that you see back there, which I will also review, but let's find out why this may become my new go-to option for wireless microphones. So my normal audio setup is going to oftentimes be the path of least resistance while still maintaining quality. That could be a lav mic into a recorder, then I'm gonna sync the audio later. Sometimes I pull in the SM7B and record straight to the computer, and then again have to sync that in post. But many times I'd rather sync in post than deal with a microphone that needs to be charged and a receiver that also needs to be charged. And then making sure they are paired and dealing with that if they do not want to be friendly and talk to each other. So naturally, the first thing I noticed about the S70 is that it instantly kind of always knows what's going on. It's really good at pairing whether I'm going into the camera receiver or the phone receiver. It seems to always detect when I'm switching, and the amount of times I've had to actually pair it via Bluetooth and wait for that to happen has been minimal. It seems to be auto switching pretty well and always kind of knows where it needs to connect. So it's been extremely easy to use, and I haven't heard a lot of people talking about how smart it is in knowing where it needs to pair. And if you're on the phone version, the receiver actually runs off of plug-in power, so you don't have to keep that charged. And the microphone and the receivers are supposed to have about 8 hours of charge. So generally when I'm going to use it, it's pretty much ready because it's always in its case, which holds its own charge. So between the two, you get about 40 hours. So when it's stored in the case and I go to use it, I pull it out, it's already charged. And then when it needs to be charged, since this just sits pretty much at my desk, the case just plugs in via USB-C. So you could keep it even plugged in. So it's kind of always ready to go. That removes a huge barrier for me when using wireless audio. So some of the other features of this microphone, they call it a logoless design. It does have a logo on it, but it's on the back side. So you can see this microphone looks like a lot of the other microphones in that the transmitter and the microphone are in the same piece. But in this case, when you clip it onto your shirt, that logo goes away because it's not facing outward towards the camera. All you see is the actual microphone part, which I know a lot of people think that the other part is the microphone because that's what we're used to seeing now. But the smaller end is the microphone, and so there is no logo while you're wearing it. I think that is actually really cool. I'm sick of big square or round patches attached to people's chest with a big logo on it. This one gets out of the way. But because for the last few years, we've seen this style of microphone become the go-to option for creators, YouTubers, podcasters, I feel like now when I see my lav microphone, it actually kind of looks old. And of course, the flip side is putting a big thing on your chest, which I've never liked the look of that. So this design, which blends a clip-on lav with a sort of magnet or clip style square round microphone, I think looks much better. And then if you want to disguise it, you can buy a kit of various colored silicone covers, which go over the microphone, which makes it blend into whatever color of clothing you're wearing. So if you want to hide it even more, that's an option as well. Now, because it is a clip microphone, you are a little bit more limited in where you're going to be able to put it. Here I have it on the buttons of my shirt. You can put it on a collar. You could clip it onto your hat. Whereas the magnet ones you can put anywhere, but those tend to pull on your shirt, and that also looks weird. So it really is just about what style of microphone that you prefer. At first I was actually a little disappointed it wasn't a magnet one. Then I realized, oh, it's more like a clip-on lav microphone, which is actually the style that I use all the time and tend to prefer. So the design of this microphone is actually something I would consider a feature. The other few biggest features on this microphone are the noise canceling, various EQ settings. And for me, these are only valuable if you're going direct to publishing or you're doing something live. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna leave it flat, or like in this case, full. It's just adding a little bit more low end, and then I'm gonna EQ in the edit. And you can also use it as the microphone for your computer. So it'd be a good way to get higher quality audio for something like a Zoom call. if you check out my video where I talk about getting good audio for a Zoom call, I'm using a USB microphone that is actually connected by a wire, but this would give you a wireless option. And for noise cancellation, you are hearing this on medium right now. This is what it sounds like in this space when I turn off the noise cancellation. And then turning it back on. I don't notice a lot of difference between the weak, medium, and strong noise cancellation in terms of how it affects my voice. That is key. I don't think it's probably the strongest noise cancellation, but for me, it does exactly what noise cancellation should do, and that's take out the noise floor of a space. If you're walking around in the city, you don't want to remove the sound of the city. That looks really weird on video. I'm seeing people do that using heavy AI processing, and that looks extremely weird when it's quiet when you're in a city. So good noise cancellation just knocks down the background a little bit, or if you're in a non-studio setting, like your house, it can knock down the subtle sounds of a noise floor, things like fans in computers, fans in lights, maybe some light HVAC. Getting rid of that subtle noise floor, for me, makes the real difference in a high quality sound. One of the coolest things this microphone does is something I haven't seen before. I haven't tested out many of this style of microphone, so maybe they're doing it now. But anytime I've ever plugged in a microphone into the phone, so you're taking that USB-C or Lightning port, you then can't play back the audio without plugging in headphones or unplugging the device from the phone so that the audio comes through the speaker. I've never continued to use a microphone once that happens, because if you're shooting for social or YouTube or anything, you're probably going to shoot, check out the video, see if you got it. You have to hear the audio. You should hear the audio, and then shoot another clip. Well, that's just way too much of a pain on a regular basis. This has a speaker option, so you can use the microphone plugged into your USB-C port on your phone, and when the speaker option is enabled, it plays through the speaker of the phone.
Myth, not 18% gray. I decided to dig into this. It's a myth.
I didn't know that was on here. I've been waiting for a microphone to actually do that for so long, but this one did it. I haven't heard anyone mention it, so it was quite a cool surprise. So good job to SmallRig for recognizing one of those details that I think you have to be a creator to really understand. At least it seems like someone over there was using the product, who's probably a creator. And in terms of the receivers themselves, they're very small and lightweight. I like that the camera receiver, when you plug it into the audio input, can be turned on and off by the camera. So if you turn the camera on or you plug it in, it knows to turn on. And if you turn the camera off, the receiver turns off as well. So that does a great job at saving your battery. Again, ease of use has been a huge plus for me with this microphone, and is probably the reason I'll actually use it. Also because it sounds good. Obviously, if it doesn't sound good, the review would stop right there. And then the phone receiver is very slim. It goes in line with your phone. Other versions of phone receivers I've seen stick out way too far. The only thing is on the sides, it probably needs two little raised sections so you can press anywhere on the receiver to change the settings. This is where you're going to change the gain so that it doesn't rock back and forth, so that it's seated in there more solidly. Although with USB-C, it's in there pretty well, but I feel like I do want to use two hands, hold the receiver, then switch the buttons when I'm making an adjustment, just so the connection to the phone doesn't come loose. And then there are things I would not call negatives, I'm going to call them trade-offs. Remember, we're dealing, in this case with the kit, a $90 microphone. So you're just not going to get some things at that price point. What you're getting is an easy to use, good sounding microphone with some cool features like noise cancellation. So you're not going to connect one of these microphones just via Bluetooth to your phone. Some do that. They usually have to work only with the app. So I don't even know how much of an asset that really is, but you do need to use the microphone and the receiver, whether it's with the camera or the phone. You're not going to get any internal recording in the receivers or the microphone because, again, $90. And the trade back, I would say, is that size. This keeps the microphone smaller and lighter. And no internal recording also means no 32-bit float. But again, if you're on the camera kit, you have a safety track. That should be all you need to stay safe from peaking your audio. And when you are changing settings, you are doing that on the receiver end, not the microphone end. So the settings should stay with the receiver, not necessarily with the microphone, because the microphone In this case, goes back and forth between the phone receiver and the camera receiver, and they do slightly different things. Like I said, you're not going to get a safety track in the phone, but you'll get safety track on the camera receiver. So on the camera receiver specifically, you have to connect your phone via USB-C to the receiver via USB-C so that you can interface the app and change your settings there. Most of the time, once I set the microphone to the levels I want, the noise cancellation option I want, the EQ I want, I'm not going to be changing that very often. It is a little wonky to do that, so that'd be a trade-off, or maybe in this case, even a negative, but it hasn't been much of a problem. But changing your settings on the phone receiver is very easy because the receiver is already connected to the phone, so just pull up the app, make your changes, move on. You have a gain control knob on the camera receiver, but the levels go in increments of 5. It looks like a knob that you can turn and get different levels between, say, 5 and 10, but it is 5 or 10 dB. I do like the way that the knob clicks so that you can easily change between the different gain levels and know which one you're on. And with the phone receiver, very cool, you can also charge your phone at the same time. Just plug in a cable and it'll charge while you're using the receiver in the USB-C port. And on the phone, you can also get 2 different channels of audio. So in post, you can separate those and deal with each person's audio individually, or you can just flip to mono so that both microphones' audio will be on the left and right equally. On the phone receiver, you switch the gain on the receiver itself. It has 3 levels of gain, 1, 2, and 3. It feels like even at the top level, it's a little low. So if you're doing something like direct to social, it feels like the audio might be a little lower than I want it. Obviously, that is based on how loud you talk and how close or far the microphone is away from you. But I do wish you had a little bit more control over the gain on the phone receiver. That said, even more, I wish the apps that we were recording into would let you do a little post-processing of the audio. You can trim video clips. Why can't I just adjust the audio up and down? Maybe the biggest challenge with this microphone is knowing what setting you're on. You're not going to get a lot of information from the receivers or the microphone themselves because there's no display on it. Again, this keeps price down, also keeps size down. So it's which one do you prefer? It's definitely not a deal breaker for me. It is just the biggest challenge you probably have with this microphone is knowing what setting you're on and memorizing the lights so that you can change the settings without being in the app. So for example, some of the settings you can change on the microphone is turning on the noise cancellation or turning off the noise cancellation, syncing the microphones, and muting the microphone. On the camera receiver, you're going to have gain. That's just a physical knob. You can switch between mono, stereo, and safety track. What's interesting is I discovered if you're doing that in real time while recording, the audio will adjust. So in that same audio track, if you're on mono, you bring it into your editor, it'll be mono. But if you switched midstream to safety track, the audio then will become safety track on the same audio track, if that makes sense. It's pretty cool. And then on the phone, you're going to switch between mono and stereo, and you have a button to select from one of 3 different gain settings. But if noise cancellation is off, it's a blue line, which to me usually says Bluetooth, but that would be a flashing blue line. If noise cancellation is on, it's green. That usually just means to me that they're connected. That's noise cancellation. Again, you're gonna have to go in the app to know what level you're at. On the phone receiver, it's red for the gain controls. Red usually screams that I'm on mute, but that is actually the gain control. So you have to memorize the different light codes when using these microphones and receivers in order to change the settings. So that would be the most difficult thing about using these microphones. All right, let's check out the app. Current noise reduction is at medium and the EQ is set to full, which for me just sounds like a little bit of the low end is boosted. So let's turn off noise cancellation. All right, so that is the noise floor of this room. Actually, we can make it louder with the computer, which I see is not on. Oh boy. Oh yeah, nice and noisy. That is the noise floor of my space. The doors open a little bit. The computer fan is going. The air filter is going. And there's even a fan in this light. And we'll turn it back on. Let's go through the different levels. That's at weak. off, on. That's medium, so that is taking out the noise floor of this place. Off, on, and this is strong. So as I talk here, we'll go from strong, and now we're on medium noise cancellation, and then we'll go to weak. We're on weak noise cancellation. I'm not hearing a lot of difference in my voice as I go through those. I am getting a little pop there when I switch it on and off, so something to be aware of. We're on weak. This is noise cancellation back to medium. This is noise cancellation back to strong and back to medium, which is where I'm going to leave it. All right, let's work through the EQs here. So EQ is now off. This is my voice without any EQ, so you would think this would be pretty much flat. We'll go back to EQ on. This is normal EQ, which I imagine would also be flat, but it obviously is a little different from the EQ off. So it's adding a little bit of something probably to that low end. All right, and this is EQ full. I can definitely hear the low end boosted. This is EQ bright. So this is always dangerous because it could be sibilant, but that just depends on your voice. This is EQ for male voice. This is EQ for female voice. So some of that low end is going to drop out. This is called singing. We're not going to be doing any of that. This is guitar. So you could clip this onto a guitar apparently. That's missing a lot of the higher frequencies where the guitar sits. So maybe it's just to make it less bright. This is violin. I definitely don't play that, but know someone who is amazing at it. And this is environment. So I guess maybe a little low end dropped out for wind and stuff. For me, this is normal. Normal would be probably pretty good. I think I would stay on normal most of the time, but I'm putting it on full for this video. I like the little bit of additional boost in the lower mids for my voice, but in post-production now, I've actually EQ'd it to the final way with better headphones that I would normally produce. So you're hearing my post-produced EQ settings on this microphone, but now I'm back to the native EQ on the device. Other features are the mono safety track and stereo. The safety track, which is going to give you another track that's about 6 dB lower than your primary track in case to protect you against clipping. And there's stereo. When you want to have two of the microphones and you want to keep those audio channels separated for post-production later, you'd use stereo. And then I have automatic limiting anti-pop sound. That reads weird. I have that enabled. I might as well just keep that on all the time to protect, again, also against some kind of clipping audio. But does it work? Plug your ears. Hey, this is clipping audio. Is this clipping audio? This is showing me that it's clipping. Is it protecting it? I don't know. And TX Linkage shutter button. Does the transmitter become a button for the shutter of your camera, for your phone? I don't know. Couldn't get it to work. Don't know what it is. Didn't see it in the manual. I'll have to email SmallRig. So will this be my go-to microphone? It's certainly a microphone I would recommend. For the price, the value is crazy. All of the things you're getting in the all-in-one kit, or even just the phone kit with 2 microphones and the receiver. But in this case, we have the camera receiver as well, which is something I need for this setup. Time will tell. I've been testing this for about a month and it just keeps performing really well. So it's something that I would recommend, but I make these videos so that you can hear the microphone and make a decision for yourself compared to other videos that also review the same microphone or other microphones. And that is the best way to know if you want to pick it up. For me, will it hold up over time? It seems pretty durable. Obviously it's plastic. I have actually dropped the case 2 times, not on purpose, quite violently. Once onto cement, once onto my hard floor here. And it hasn't affected the operation. And I don't think it even scuffed it up. It maybe did. There's probably a mark on here somewhere, but it didn't break and is still performing well. So not something I'd recommend, but it has taken 2 accidental hard falls and survived. So if it's durable and holds up over time, that will be great. And if you see me still using this 6 months or a year from now, you know that ease of use, the quality of the microphone, and the durability has been good. So keep an eye out for what microphone I'm using in the next video. Again, it is dependent sometimes on the type of video I'm filming, but it is usually about ease of use. So if I can easily just plug this in and go, I'll keep using it. And this has been the easiest wireless solution that I've used so far, so it has the best chance. But I really like the sound of it. I really like how the noise reduction just knocks down the bass noise floor, which is what I'm trying to do with my audio. Because ideally you are thinking about audio when you're recording in any space, and hopefully it's not too reverberant and doesn't have a giant noise floor in it that you're gonna have to try to remove or you're just gonna have to live with. And that noise cancellation, on top of doing what I want to do, doesn't negatively affect the voice. Noise cancellation has gotten pretty good where it doesn't do too much to the voice these days. Most of the algorithms seem to be really well made. Okay, hit the subscribe button so you can catch any additional features that I find and then make a video for later on. That always seems to happen. Ask your questions in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. It's pretty fast. I'll see you next time.